Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah, with the grace, mercy and the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we continue our da'wah where we upload more than 600 videos in the various YouTube channel for you to study and then get yourself certified as a life coach. And the whole idea is in this 21st century, how we're going to transform ourselves, the family, the ummah, to be a family and ummah of achievers that is based on the transcendent value of Islam, Dinul Islam. And I've given you the idea of the nature of Iman, and the attributes of Allah, the religious principles, the 20 sifah as we understand within the framework of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Okay, and then I've given you the understanding also of the proof of the essentiality of the wujud or the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there are many previous videos. You go to our previous videos about the cosmological argument. Al-Ghazali's cosmological argument proved the existence of Allah in terms of the proving of the minor and the major premise, and then how we use kalam argument, that means the logic that we have taught you, all right, and how the creator or God is the essential or the necessary being and is not something that is being created, whether it is adar or atasasul. All right, and we have given you this idea. So now once you have this framework of the wujud of Allah, before we go into all the other sifah, because we have sifah, the first sifah that we have to prove from the perspective of our belief system is the wujud of Allah, the existence of Allah. If after we have that, then we have the everlastingness, wujud, qidam, baqa, mukhalafatuhu lil hawadith, qiyamuhu ta'ala bin nafsi, wahdaniyah, kudrat, iradat, and so on. Everything is bounded by the proof of wujud. And to the proof of wujud, we have many approach to it. So in our book, I have combined, all right, in our book Positive Islamic Psychology, on the nature of the creator and the created self. There's one chapter. This is on this chapter on the nature of the creator and the created self. It gives us all those challenges to the atheists, because we have not only the teleological argument for the existence of God, we have also the cosmological argument, we also have the ontological argument, and all these I have framed it together one by one so that it becomes a way of helping Muslims as believers why we believe in the existence of Allah. Okay, for example, if I say, okay, we believe in Allah because from the previous kalam argument we say that this universe is created. So how do I prove this universe is created? Then I'll show you a video of the Big Bang, for example, and then you can understand this whole thing. So I'll go through one by one, but if you have our book, or you can request to download this copy, it has given you all the argument, not only from the theological argument for existence of God, but also the cosmological argument, also the ontological argument, and I've put it together. Instead of just talking philosophically, I'm using modern science, all right, quantum physics, Big Bang theory, and all that kind of thing to give us an idea. But some of you may ask, say, oh, science is also changing. Yes, but as the science changes, more and more proof show that Allah exists. All right, because the Quran is a miracle. Everything that we thought is something not there is there. Allah has given us in the various ayah, because Allah tells us to reflect on the ayah of the Quran as well as the ayah of this universe. That means the creation of the universe, the creation of life, the creation of all creatures on this earth, the creation of birds, beasts, trees, the existence of the hills, mountain, rain, cycle, and so on. All those are reflection for us to realize the grandeur of Allah, because we are a creature of nothingness. I mentioned to you, this earth is in one galaxy called the Milky Way. This galaxy has 100 billion stars, and there is more than 100 billion galaxies in the known visible universe. That means this little postage you project up the known universe, because at a certain point the light cannot reach us already. That is the unknown universe. They call it the event horizon. We cannot go beyond that. But there are many trillions of galaxies there. So our earth is just a teeny weeny puny existence. If we do not realize the grandeur of the creator, the existence of Allah, God, then we are arrogant. And Allah tells us the greatest of all the arrogance is Iblis or Shaitan. Iblis or Shaitan rejected God because he thinks that he is a better person. Alright, he's better than the commandment of God. So modern man is like that. They study cosmology, but then they say, oh, maybe it come by chance, But in their heart they know it cannot be. But because they are influenced by materialism, by atheism, by physicalism, they bring this idea of just that this earth is just self-existent, or this universe is self-existence, there is no God, and then they go on. So this story will go on until the last day. There will be believers, there will be disbelievers, there will be atheists. What is important is for us to have our iman, ilmul yaqin, the ilm, for us to conduct our life in a state of belief, and to bring about our children to understand the nature of the truth of the belief of the wujud of Allah. So after this, I'll show you a video on the Big Bang, and inshallah you'll have some idea of the first proof. Remember, I'm going to combine all those proofs, the theological argument, the ontological and the cosmological. There is all this argument is in this book, on the chapter of the creator and the created universe, inshallah.
So, let's start at the very beginning, around 13.7 billion years ago. Before there was any time or space as we know it. Actually, we really don't know what there was at or before the very beginning of the universe. But we do now know what happened a tiny fraction of a second later. From a minuscule, dense, hot dot, the size of which about 1 trillion would fit on a pinhead, the universe was born. When it came to be, it unleashed an unbelievable amount of energy, and for a brief second it expanded faster than the speed of light, growing to the size of a galaxy. It was so hot and so pressurized that all the basic forces of nature we know today were unified. But very quickly, gravity broke away as the pressure began to drop. This was then followed by the electromagnetic, the weak nuclear, and the strong nuclear forces. This splitting of the major forces released even more latent energy into the system. And at these very, very high temperatures, energy can actually be converted into matter, according to E equals mc squared. That's energy equals matter multiplied by the speed of light squared. So these huge amounts of energy can therefore produce matter and antimatter, which immediately annihilates each other to return back to energy. An incredibly mad, chaotic war of trillions and trillions of particles spontaneously appearing and then disappearing ensued. But this process was, for reasons unknown, not perfect. And some residual matter particles, about 1 in a billion, remained. And this makes up all the stuff we have today. Then the temperatures cooled and matter stopped being produced. The universe was filled with a dense, hot, fog-like plasma of energy and matter particles, consisting mostly of hydrogen, some helium, and a very small amount of lithium. And this continued to expand until its temperature eventually fell to 3000 degrees Kelvin, around 380,000 years after the Big Bang. At this particular temperature, electrons can settle into the atoms and behave as they do today. So from this opaque plasma fog, there suddenly was a massive release of light. The universe continues to expand today at an increasing rate and is 1,000 times bigger, and subsequently dividing its earlier temperature by 1,000 is now only 3 degrees above absolute zero. Well, let's take a look at some of the evidence for this theory. It turns out that stars are moving away from us. We see this through the redshift of the light wave as it recedes from us. This is a bit like undulating a skipping rope. When it is loose and close together, it produces bigger waves as you move it. These bigger waves equate to the blue side of light. As the rope is stretched, these waves reduce in amplitude and show that the wave is longer and redder and is therefore moving away. The universe is therefore expanding. Yesterday it was smaller than it is today, and therefore had more pressure and was hotter in the past. When we take these measurements back over billions of years, we reach a point where the universe had no size at all. The moment of light release, 380,000 years after the Big Bang, would have left an extended, even flatter light wave, a microwave. Today, this is actually detectable as background microwave radiation, exactly as is predicted by the theory, and has now been mapped by very sensitive equipment to show the universe exactly as it was at 380,000 years after the Big Bang. This is often referred to as the smoking gun, as it confirms the basics of the Big Bang theory as fact. Another interesting piece of evidence is that astrological objects older than 13 billion years have never ever been discovered. The minimum amount of hydrogen and helium around now is again exactly as is predicted by the Big Bang theory. However, the theory still has a few hiccups. 90% of gravity comes from an unknown substance called dark matter, and the universe is expanding because of an unexplained phenomenon called dark energy. We still have not directly detected either of these and do not know exactly what they are. But the Big Bang theory is undoubtedly correct and is supported by all the data and all the evidence, but it is still lacking the framework to explain why it came to be.